right, thank you, Ian. Welcome everybody, and thank you for taking the time to join us. Molly, thank you for joining me. I will first of all let Molly introduce herself, if you can, Molly, who you are and a little bit about WTW, so people know your background.
Sure. Thanks, Philip. So I'm Molly Fisher. Like Ian said, I'm the Director of Brand Management at WTW. And WTW is a leading professional services company, and we provide advisory services, insurance broking, and technology solutions in the areas of people, risk, and capital, as we like to say. We're a very large organization. So we're in 140 different countries and markets, and we have nearly 50,000 employees across the world. In my role, I lead brand strategy, oversee overall brand management for our global WTW brand, and all of the governance that goes along with that to make sure that our brand is showing up in the right places and being used in the right way. I've been at WTW and our predecessor companies for 18 years, held a number of different roles, all within marketing. And I've been in this kind of leading of brand management the last 8 or 9 years. So that's a little bit about me.
Excellent. Thank you, Molly. So I'm Philip Winterburn, Chief Strategy and Product Officer at Beam. Beam, if you don't know who we are a brand enablement and activation platform that really helps drive your brand into all your stakeholders. And I firmly believe that brand is one of the last great differentiators in this ever accelerating world that we live in. And so driving brand out, ensuring brand consistency is something that's near and dear to my heart, because I believe that companies that have strong alignment around their mission, vision, values, purpose, and brand will outperform their competitors every time. And so this platform's been built to help drive that brand into the organization so all employees can express it naturally and easily in the course of their business. So Molly, WTW's phenomenal large organization. You've grown amazingly over the last several years, a lot of it through acquisition. So you've gone through a lot of brand changes, brand amalgamations, I think that's the word, bringing those brands together, rebranding, and then the most recent moves to WTW. So I'd love it if you could sort of kick us off with that journey. Tell us a little about the journey of WTW and how it came to be.
Yeah, so a little bit of history. So WTW and our predecessor companies date all the way back to 1828. So we're actually coming up on 200 years. And it has grown over those years, like you said, through, different mergers on kind of both halves of our business, and always growing and growing. And myself, I've actually been involved in 3 different rebrands since I joined the company in 2006. 2 of those were due to mergers. And those 2 mergers actually took place at different times. So one was 2010 and one was 2016. They were at vastly different scales. So the first one that I was involved with was when Watson Wyatt and Towers Perrin formed Towers Watson. And we doubled from about 8,000 employees to 15,000 at that point. And that was really a merger for scale. So we were 2 competitors in the same industry. We just grew in size so we could better support our clients, kind of economies of scale. But then in 2016, Towers Watson merged with Willis, a UK-based insurance broking company. And then we went from about 20,000 to nearly 40,000 employees. So just in that short period of time, we really, really grew, expanded our footprint. And, that merger was more for scope. So we were merging together 2 complementary businesses. And then the last rebrand, our most recent one, was in 2022, where we took Willis Towers Watson and rebranded as WTW. And that was the most exciting to me personally. We were actually about to have a merger with another competitor. So that would have been the 3rd one, but it was called off at the 11th hour. So because of that, there was kind of a perception problem in the press, right? We really needed to ensure our clients, our investors, potential employees, that we were going to be going forward as, Willis Towers Watson or WTW. We were strong, we were independent. We had a new CEO starting actually in January of 2022. So what we wanted to do was really launch this kind of next phase of the company's history as WTW And we wanted to tie that into, that change in leadership. So it gave us just a really great opportunity to, reintroduce ourselves to the market.
Excellent.
The interesting thing is, in merger situation, it's a pretty straightforward rebrand.
Yeah.
The old companies don't exist. You have a new company, you have the new name, you have to develop a new brand for that new organization and kind of introduce yourself to the world. And it's very easy to get the attention of your employees and your clients. And to get buy-in, those companies don't exist anymore. There was no Watson Wyatt and Towers Parent anymore. There was only Towers Watson, and everyone really embraced that new brand and is really eager to start using it. So, mergers make for kind of a stressful time and a lot on, but it's such a great opportunity and people are really, really on board with it.
Yeah. That merger of Watson Wyatt and Towers Perrin, that was, you said 20,000 and 20,000 coming together to make 40,000 employee total, roughly.
Yes, correct? that was the Willis Towers Watson merger. That was the 2016 merger. Yeah.
So that one that was before the WTW. But bringing together those two communities, the massive organizations, probably entrenched brands. Let's start with that one. How did that go? What were some of the hurdles bringing those probably two different cultures, two different organizations, two different ways of thinking? How did you do that?
Absolutely. I mean, that, to your point, it really was two different cultures. We were, the Willis side was an insurance broking company with a very long history. Mostly, they're a global firm, but they were, UK based and started. As we always say, we insured the Titanic. I mean, it's that kind of historical insurance company. And then on the Towers Watson side, we were really more in the benefits and HR consulting space. So while they were very complementary in what we did and a lot of the clients we served, they were, coming from two different places. And I think, really what we did was we used the new brand, the Willis Towers Watson brand, as kind of a unifying factor. So it was a culture change internally, but also externally gave us that opportunity to talk to the market and say, well, who is Willis Towers Watson going to be? Yeah. And we really went to market as an integrated company, not a holding company, not a collection of a bunch of different brands, just one, we call it our primary brand, and really define and tell that story. And we needed our people to be on board with that and to be able to help us tell that story.
Just from a prior conversation, I know the logistics of that launch of that brand change was quite significant. Maybe tell a little story about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you're in a merger situation like that, usually the time frame is pretty short often, and it's not up to marketing and not up to brand of when you're going to launch. That's based on clearing those regulatory hurdles, and when you're ready to have day one and start doing business as the new merged company, you have to be ready to go. So we really needed to, essentially prioritize what was the most important things that our client-facing individuals needed, what our employees needed to make sure there was that engagement and that buy-in. So, you can look at literally thousands of assets that are touched by the brand, building signage, Microsoft Office templates, literally signs on elevators, business cards, of course, but then also, we've got a huge event that's taking place 3 weeks after the merger is going to close. How can we be there and show up and have that brand experience so that people know from day one, there's something different? So it really was a matter of going through all of that and auditing what we had out there, understanding what was coming up. Where were our biggest offices? Do those offices were they client facing? Do we need to have meeting rooms ready for day one? Do we need to have, a mug or a water bottle with the new logo on it? Because those little things are going to go a long way. So that's a lot of kind of the logistics we were going through. And then, as you can imagine, as soon as new brands launch, everybody wants the stuff. We might be so thrilled that we've got this visual identity system ready to go and 500 new photos in our new brand style. And then on day 3, people are like, but I need this and I need this and I need this. So it's really having a very clear plan and being able to communicate to your employees when things are coming, when they can expect them, what is available now, where to find it, how to use it, all those things. As a brand professional, it's actually a really exciting time.
Well, let's fast forward then to the WTW
Yeah.
launch, or I think you call it a reveal.
We did call it a reveal. So
Yeah.
that was a different scenario. Like I said, there was no merger involved. It was a strategic decision that we made to kind of signal to the market that WTW is here to stay. This is who we are. And we got that done in 100 days. And so if anybody out there has ever done a rebrand, they realize how short a time that is. Our first meeting with our agency to the day we revealed the WTW brand was exactly 100 days, which is kind of mind-boggling.
Yeah.
But that one was really more about storytelling because, like I said, we had this merger that seemed to be full steam ahead. It got called off kind of at the last minute, but it had dragged out. It was actually during COVID lockdowns that a lot of that merger planning was happening. So that combined with, a little uncertainty about the future of this combined, proposed combined organization, we had, trouble hiring new people to bring them into a company with so much uncertainty. So there were a lot of aspects of this WTW rebrand that we really wanted to use it to our advantage. But at the same time, it was a little bit harder to get people on board and using the new brand, using the new templates and assets. It wasn't a new company, right? Willis Towers Watson was familiar. We even had to say, you can still continue to use templates, materials, things that you had, because it was going to take us a while to get everything ready to go. So it was, kind of just a different period of time. And also in 2022, most people weren't back in offices yet, or at least not full time.
True.
So it was a virtual brand launch, which was very different, especially from, 2016 or 2010, when everything was about in the office and we had the balloons, when you walked in on your first day. How did we make that experience for our people when most of the company was still working from home? And the only difference to them was when they opened their laptop on that day, they saw some new stuff on the intranet,
Yeah. So the timing of that, there was also, I think you mentioned there was a change in the brand change was partly the tone of the company from the very corporate to something else. So maybe talk a little bit about the journey that you were taking the company on from a brand standpoint and the stories around that.
Absolutely. Anytime we do something like this, we have a lot of conversations with leaders and employees of the company and our clients. And what we were really wanted to do is take a bold step forward. That was the word that just came up over and over again. We want to be bold. We want, the world to know that we come up with bold ideas, that we, are noticeable, that we stand out. That we're not dodgy or old or, been around since 1828. We are a modern company. We have tons of excellent software solutions for you. And so we really shaped our brand kind of to meet that moment and be able to tell that story and back it up with, the way we talk to our clients, the way we look and show up against our competitors. So it really was a big, I think, a big departure from kind of some of our brands of old.
Yeah. So how did you go about getting people to engage? As you said, they were, it's not a new company. It could be seen as superficial because I'm still doing the same job at the same company.
Mm-hmm.
How did you actually get people to engage and embrace the new branding in the organization?
Yeah, one of the things that was very helpful is, our senior leaders were so on board with us. I mentioned there was a CEO change, but from the CEO down, that executive leadership team, was excited about the new brand and our new story. We talked about it all over the place. And then, so just having that support, I think, at the top level goes a long way, And then we took every opportunity we could to talk about the brand, show up, showcase, town halls and webcasts, all those types of things, all the communication channels we have. We did have a few big high profile events that happened in those, those first few months. And the fact that we were able to show up as WTW, I think went a long way for our own people and our clients to say like, oh, there really is something different and exciting here. And then really it was a matter of making sure that when our people needed the things, the tangible or digitally tangible things, they knew where to go to get them. And Philip, you're very familiar with our brand website, but we call it Brand Central, and it's been around since 2017, so people were familiar with it. But in the rebrand situation, the fact that we could kind of also relaunch the brand website. Oh yeah, and here's a picture of it right now. It is such a great resource because so many times, things are on a SharePoint site somewhere, or on your desktop or emailed around. And so we have this very easy to use, very kind of consumer feeling brand website. And that for us is just such an easy way to make things as easy as possible for our 40,000 plus people to get what they need. So it's guidelines, it is storytelling, it is assets. We even have, I know this is kind of a recorded video, but we even have a section, that you're showing right now that we call our showcase. So if you just want a little bit of inspiration about how great our brand can be in an event, we've got, good examples of it, kind of case studies and photos. So we really use it in a lot of different ways, and it's known throughout the company as the place to go to find what you need.
Yeah, I flashed that up there for people who haven't seen Brand Center before at that scale. I mean, what WTW and Molly, what you've done building that site out is phenomenal. I mean, it's a really, really rich and robust resource now for the organization. And maybe talk a little bit about how it changes with time, because one of the things I think that is the big evolution from going from static brand guidelines that most organizations have to a more dynamic web-based experience is that it is dynamic. It does change, right? The brand, although the brand itself is a brand, there are evolutions of that over time as you see people using it and evolving it and fine-tuning it. So maybe talk a little bit about how that manifests at WTW and how you have supported that to keep that engagement over time, because it's very easy to get excitement on the launch. But how do you keep people engaged 18 months down the road?
Exactly. And so one thing we love about our Brand Central, our site, is how easy it is for us. And when I say us, I mean my small brand management team. There's like 3 of us basically that own and maintain that website, but we can make the changes ourselves. So to your point, if you have a 75-page PDF, which we used to have before we had a brand website, if you want to make a change because you're adding a new photography category, or you want to add something about a new social media platform that you're going to be using as a channel, you need to probably work with somebody on the design team to lay out those pages, update the PDF, and then update it anywhere that it lives on your intranet or your SharePoint site, and then hope that people are using the latest copy and not the version that they have downloaded through the laptop. So the fact that it's on a website, we actually will get questions. People say, oh, do you have a PDF version I can send someone? And we say, no, we don't, because it's living, breathing, always updated. One of the things that we do actually is have one page that's kind of almost like a blog. So we call it the What's New with Brand. And so that's a way for us to highlight new resources, updates to templates, things that people need to know about the brand. So that's kind of like the first stop on the page. And, we add to that a couple times a month. So it doesn't get stale. People know that things are constantly changing. The other thing that's really interesting, and we actually last summer did a project where we looked at all of the reporting that we have on the site. What are the search terms people are looking at? What are the most downloaded things? How often are people visiting? And we actually, our site is regularly used by 25% of our employees. So 10,000 people are using it a year, like individual unique people, not visits. So it's really, it is used a lot. Other than maybe our intranet, I'm not sure there's any site at the company that is used that much, or time cards. I guess everybody's going to time cards. But we really did kind of an evaluation. We looked at all the data. We also did a user survey to find out, how are you using the brand site? Are you using it for guidelines and information? Are you using it for training? Because we have a lot of training videos up there. Or are you just trying to get in and out, find the logo file that you need, or the photo? And it was split. It really was. I think the biggest majority of our users are just trying to get in and out to complete a task. So then we just thought, well, how do we make that easier for them? So we did some changes to our homepage. We made sure that the search was easier, because there's a great search on it. Other people, though, really were looking for inspiration, and that was the brand showcase I was talking about. So there are different user types that we tried to figure out, personalities and personas for different purposes. So we wanted to make sure that we organized the information. We made it as easy as possible for people to find what they need on that particular trip. But I think having a website and people are used to looking on websites versus in a database or something, just makes the experience a lot easier for colleagues.
Excellent. So now coming at it from a different angle, you've got almost 50,000 people out there.
Mm-hmm.
3 of you.
There's more. I mean, we have a whole design team too, but in terms of my brand, core brand management team, it's 3 of us. Yep.
Yeah. So a small and strong team. The governance aspect of brand is something that always fascinates me when you have a company of such scale. I mean, you've got 40, 50,000 storytellers out there on a daily basis looking to tell their tales. And, we exist to give them the tools to do that most effectively and as richly as possible with all of the things we have at our fingertips. But those stories can quickly go off the rails if we don't have appropriate governance in place. So how do you even start to approach that challenge?
It's a big challenge. I mean, that's why we have a brand management team. And our team, really, our purpose is that we set and govern the strategy as best we can. But also we provide those tools and the training so that people can go do what they need to do. Because at the end of the day, we are a professional services company. So our people are our brand. Like, that is how most of our clients interact with WTW. I mean, yes, there's software and that kind of thing, but for the most part, it's our people. So we just put a huge emphasis on how can we enable our people to use our brand in the right way. So sometimes that is, formal training. Sometimes it's more informal type things. It is, as many tools and resources as they need. It is gentle correction when we see something that needs correcting. But a lot of it is positioning our team as partners and advisors, especially to those kind of power users of the brand. So the marketing teams, the client-facing colleagues, those who are building the things, the software teams, and our intranet advisory team. And so we really want to partner with those groups, again, to make sure at the top level, the brand is being used the way we want it to be, in the voice we want it to be in the conversations we want it to be in. And, but beyond that, we're decentralized. So we have to, at a certain point, it's out in the ether, and we hope that it's being used in the right way.
Fascinating. So we talked about the governance piece. I had a question I was going to ask you, but it slipped my mind. Damn it. That's always the way these days. Inspiration. So you touched earlier on the showcase element of the brand center as a tool for inspiration. So maybe talk a little bit about how that is used in an organization to actually bring best in class use. We had a client who said they didn't need a showcase, and then within, I think, 90 days of launching their brand, they were like, I want one of those because I'm seeing some great stuff happening out in the field. I want to be able to show it off. So maybe talk a little bit about that for the audience to understand the power of that tool.
I think the showcase, really helps us in a couple different ways. One, anyone who works in brand is, always going to say like, brand is not just a color, brand is not just a logo. It's the overall experience. It's how all the things work together. So by showing real examples of what that means, when, it is so helpful. So whether that's, an event or a campaign that we've run or a new video that we're putting out, and we have that opportunity to kind of talk about some of the choices that were made and why, or how it supports the business in a particular goal or objective for, an event or a sales campaign that they're having. It helps people understand that it's all the pieces that work together. It's not just, oh, well, I need to make sure that it's got the right WTW logo
Right.
on the thing I'm doing. So I think it really just helps bring that concept to life for our colleagues.
Excellent. Very good. All right. I think we've got like 2 minutes left, but if you could just give 2 key takeaways for driving engagement. So, your phenomenal organization, WTW, very brand forward, and your team does a great job, obviously, driving the brand out and keeping that engagement across all 50,000 employees. What would be your 2 tips for the audience in terms of these are the 2 things I would lean into if you have nothing else to do?
I think one is, again, that buy-in from your senior leadership. Our leaders see that, brand is a business tool. It is not just a logo or the visuals. I mean, our leaders talk about our brand all the time. It is part of the lexicon in the company. They understand what it means. And, from the brand team, we work with our business leaders on, helping them define value propositions for new businesses or, whatever it is. So I think having the business on board, especially the senior level, is huge.
Yeah.
And then otherwise, it's, make it as easy as possible for people to do the right thing. Most people want to do the right thing.
Yeah.
So, the stuff should be easy to find. Your guidelines should be clear. You should, the brand team should be easy to reach. People know us. We have the help desk built into the brand center, but people also IM me and email me all the time. And, for us, we can accomplish most of those things through our brand website, through Brand Central, but, it might look differently to different organizations. But if you remove those barriers and that friction, I think most people want to do the right thing.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, Molly, thank you so much for sharing the story with the audience. It was really kind of you to take the time to do that. A 200-year-old organization.
Nearly 200.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
So thank you. And I think, Ian, you had some closing comments.
Howdy, yes. Again, really great stuff. I'm just going to pop up WTW's and Beam's QR codes there on the. But brilliant stuff. Really, really appreciate you joining us. I don't think we're going to have time for any questions. I saw 1 or 2 coming in, but we do have to jump off. But yeah, if anyone on the call is interested, next session we have coming up in about 15 minutes is with John Horotsky, and he is going to be discussing getting executive buy-in for DAM in 2025. So that'll be a good session. But again, thanks so much for joining us, Philip and Molly. Really good stuff. And yeah, see you folks soon.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you.
Cheers, Molly.